a very warm welcome to this edition of Question Hour from the Parliament House complex, where we get you important unstarred questions asked by the members of the Rajya Sabha and the answers given by the government. I'm Kriti Mishra, and joining me is my colleague Vishal. Dahiya.
Well, thank you so much, Kriti. And just like every day, today also we'll bring you some important questions which have been asked by the members. And let's begin with the first question. This question has been asked by member MV Rajiv Gowda, and this is to the Ministry of Defence. The member asked the government about the details of the progress or termination of the India-Ukraine partnership to upgrade the AN-32 aircraft fleet at Kanpur Air Base. He also wants to know the number of aircrafts which have obsolete and outdated emergency transmissions.
The government has replied that the contract for upgradation of AN-32 aircrafts with Ukraine has not been terminated. The government further says that 15 AN-32 aircraft have already been upgraded at 1 BRD, Kanpur. No aircraft is fitted with obsolete and outdated emergency transmission locator. Out of 105 AN-32 aircraft planned for upgradation, 55 aircraft have been upgraded, 40 aircraft at Kiev, Ukraine, and 15 aircraft at 1 BRD, Kanpur. Upgradation of the remaining aircraft is planned in the phased manner depending upon the supply of mod kits by Ukraine. Equipment fitted on AN-32 aircraft are functional and serviceable on all aircraft that are flying. All transport aircraft in Indian Air Force cleared for flying are fully airworthy. In fact, Vishal, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also clarified on the floor of the House while answering to a start question that all AN-32 aircraft are flyworthy and airworthy.
Well, yes, indeed, the AN-32 aircrafts are old, but they are still very much worthy, and they have proved their worthiness a number of times.
Well, the next question is also to the Ministry of Defence, and this one has been asked by member K.R. Arjunan, and he has asked the government whether it is a fact that the army is considering to induct more youth in the armed forces, including youth from state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, the Defence Ministry has responded to this one by saying that recruitment in the armed forces is done regularly through army recruiting offices, that is AROs, spread across the country, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Recruitment from each district of the country is done at least once in the recruiting year, that is from April to March. To attract youth to join army, government has undertaken sustained campaign to create awareness among the youth on the advantages of taking up a challenging and satisfying career. Awareness campaigns, participation in career fairs and exhibitions, advertisements in print and electronic media, motivational lectures in schools, colleges are some of the measures in this direction. Well, the next question is to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and this one has been asked by Manish Gupta, and he goes on to ask the government whether the draft National Forest Policy 2018 has been approved and put in operation, and also the salient features of this policy.
The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has already prepared a draft National Forest Policy 2018 and had placed it in public domain for comments. After an exhaustive and wide consultation processes with all major stakeholders and incorporating their feedbacks, the draft National Forest Policy 2018 has been further revised. However, the new National Forest Policy has not been approved yet, and as of now, the existing National Forest Policy 1988 is in operation. The next question is by member Prabhat Jha, and this question also pertains to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the member has asked whether government proposes to initiate National Clean Air Program to combat air pollution, under which immediate effective steps would be taken to minimize air pollution levels of the cities identified as most polluted cities of India.
Well, the Environment Ministry in its answer says that in order to address the air pollution across the country in a comprehensive manner, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has launched the National Clean Air Program, that is NCAP. Now, the overall objective of this program is to ensure prevention, control and abatement of air pollution in the 102 non-attainment cities. Taking into account the available international experiences and national studies, 20 to 30% reduction of PM 2.5 and PM 10 concentration is targeted by 2024, keeping 2017 as the base year for comparison. Ministry has sanctioned 10 crore each for 28 cities with a million plus population. The ministry further says that for the remaining non-attainment cities, funding of 10 lakhs per city for cities with population less than 5 lakh and 20 lakhs per city with a population of 5 to 10 lakhs have also been sanctioned. Well, the next question is by member Tiruchi Siva, and this one is to the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. And the member wants to know from the government the steps taken by it to go ahead and improve the creditworthiness of the micro, small and medium enterprises in the last 3 years.
Well, MSMEs are extremely important for economic growth of any country, and the Ministry of MSME implements various schemes and programs like Credit Guarantee Scheme, Credit Linked Capital Subsidy Scheme, MSME Cluster Development Program, Marketing Development Assistance, National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program, Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. These schemes address various aspects of the MSME development, including promotion of access to credit and infrastructure. The government further says that MSME Cluster Development Program of the Ministry of MSME addresses the needs of common infrastructure for MSMEs. The program supports creation and upgradation of industrial assets and setting up of common facility centers.
Well, in fact, my colleague Kriti Mishra spoke to the member Tiruchi Siva just a short while back and sought his response on the government's answer to the question raised by him. Let's listen.
Joining me is the member of Rajya Sabha, Mr. Tiruchi Siva. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, sir. You asked a very important question on MSMEs that forms the backbone of Indian economy. You've asked the question on credit worthiness of MSMEs. What's the reply of the government and what is your take on government's reply?
See, the MSME is the second largest sector which generates more employment in our country next to agriculture. And that sector is nowadays very weak, and anyone will admit that. Consecutively for a few years, for the past few years, MSME is not sailing in the way or it should be. There are many reasons for that. Even in these sessions, when we are going to discuss about the working of the ministries, I proposed that chairman agreed to that and the other leaders also accepted. So we are going to discuss about the working of the Ministry of MSME. As by way of my experience as the chairman of the Committee on Industry, which includes the MSME also, so I have some more interest in that. And moreover, this MSME alone will entertain those people who are not taken care of the government or otherwise. The first thing is the PMEGP. Any youth, any educated youth or anybody who has not even educated to the needed level, if they don't get any employment, through PMGP they can become an entrepreneur and they can give employment to 5 or 10. So as far as this credit question is raised, government has extended already some credit guarantee scheme, credit linked subsidy scheme, and more or less this cluster, that is the major one of this. That cluster scheme helps for the basic need to access for infrastructure. It facilitates one or more number of MSMEs. They work together and they form a cluster. And the most important one is marketing assistance, because when some products which are manufactured by the MSME section of people, how it could be marketed. So marketing assistance scheme is one of the things. So in all these ways government is extending, but for various other reasons MSME I think is limping very much for the past 2 years, and I think something has to be done very much to be concentrated on that, and for the main reason for manufacture, for employment, and as well as it boosts the economy of the country.
Absolutely, sir. And how important are these steps to enhance the competitiveness of MSMEs across the globe?
Across the globe, I think various other countries, for even China, MSME, they are doing very well, and even in US and India should be more, because when we are thickly populated and when our first prayer concern is to engage our people. They should not be kept idle. We cannot just feed them with what they want, keeping them idle. We have to make them work and extract something from them, and with that alone I think this country could do very well. So I think concentrating on MSME would resolve many of the issues. For example, in the northeastern region, where we fear about Naxalism or any other movement, when they are given some employment or some way to live, many people quit that path of life when they come back. So I think major thing is to give employment or make them use those people in the right manner.
Absolutely. That's a very important point that you're making, sir. Thank you so much for talking to Rajya Sabha Television. Moving on to the next question, and this one is to the Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises, and this question has been asked by member Shanta Chetri, and she has asked whether the government is aware that under the FAME 2 scheme, charging stations for electric vehicles in the country are to be set up.
Well, the government in its answer says that the phase 2 of the FAME scheme envisages support for setting up of adequate public charging infrastructure to instill confidence among electric vehicle users through active participation and involvement of various stakeholders, including government agencies, industries and public sector enterprises as well. A budget provision of 1,000 crore rupees for a period of 3 years from 2019-20 to 21-22 has been earmarked for setting up of charging infrastructure under phase 2 of FAME India scheme. However, no fund for establishment of charging infrastructure has been sanctioned under this phase of the scheme so far. So, well, Kriti, these were some of the questions which were raised by members and their responses by the government on the floor of the House.
Absolutely, Vishal. We'll bring more questions and their answers to our viewers in the next edition of Question Hour.